From the gridiron to the diamond, this is more than X's and O's. This is your best Florida sports podcast with CBS 12 News sports director John Evenson, producer extraordinaire Sam Sullivan, and Max Shepman with the lighter side of sports.
Welcome to a brand new look.
Where are we?
Of Best Florida Sports Podcast. You, the audience, will never know where exactly we are. But this is the new look, and you got to get used to it because this will be the permanent look.
We're in the Best Florida Sportscast underground lair.
That's right.
Is
We're
what this
about,
is.
What'd you say, 500, 600 feet underground, I'd say?
Further than that. Further.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is a little hot.
We're close to the center of the earth.
Yeah,
I'm boiling.
Yeah, it is a lot.
If I had known that that this was going to be our debut week close to the center of the earth, I would have at least gotten a haircut.
Okay.
Might have worn some deodorant.
Fair.
Yeah, I feel
it's kind of interesting though because you do have the sun in the blinds in the background, but we'll
That's
forget
not the
about
sun.
Those. No?
That's liquid lava. That's
Okay.
lava out the window.
Well, the big talk for this week's podcast, of course, is March Madness.
Hey, are you allowed to say that? Let's say March. There's copyright things, right?
If there's copyright over those two words, we have a serious problem, and we're gonna have to cancel this episode right now.
I'm gonna say March Mayhem. You keep saying March Madness, okay? And we'll see who gets sued
I'll say
here.
the madness in March. How about that? Of course,
I love this week. This week is and I find it so funny because we were just sitting down to do the podcast. I'm the type of guy who fills out my bracket, at the very least, the Monday after Selection Sunday. I can't help myself. I got to say, although this year I've had a lot to do. I've been going to TGL had the semifinals on Monday and Tuesday,
which we'll talk about.
Big Hall of Fame ceremony for Palm Beach County Sports Commission on Sunday. I was all over that, and so I haven't had as much time to just sit down in my lazy boy and look through. Because let's face it, I mean, we all think we become college basketball experts this time of the year. Like we literally just start researching teams and who the upset teams could be, and suddenly we throw around these opinions on the teams that we haven't watched all year. I mean, I watch the Gators when I can. I know how awesome they are. We'll be talking a lot about that later, of course. One of the number one seeds. But I'm asking you about the bracket. You haven't even filled it out yet. How do you wait?
I'm somebody who likes to wait for the first four to finish. For those, right?
In case one of the first four teams make a deep run.
Those games are. I think it's the 11 seeds and the 16 seeds.
So wait, there are actual teams in those matchups that you think, well, if one of these teams win, they could really go on a run. But if they get knocked off, they weren't the team you thought they were to begin with.
Well, I don't want to pick them before it's all decided. I don't want to see two teams slashed off facing one team. Yeah,
you want to write the proper team down.
Yeah. So we're taping this on Wednesday. So by tonight, I will have a bracket.
You're a cheater. You're going to just I'm going to give you all my opinions, and now
that's
you're
all right.
going to be tainted. You're going to fill it out. You're going to be tainted with my opinions, with Sean Kelley, the play-by-play voice of the Gators opinion.
If you and the audience doesn't know by now, anything that you do, I will always do the complete opposite of.
Oh, okay.
so we're going to be all right.
Who's George Costanza, you or me?
That would be you. Yeah, definitely not me.
I always thought of myself as more of a Larry David.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, Larry David is George Costanza. That character was written.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes.
We're off the tracks.
Yeah, there you go.
We're off the tracks. I wonder if Larry David fills out a bracket. Anyway, I'll never look at the NCAA tournament the same again after my experience with the FAU Owls 2 years ago. It's coming up on the anniversary. My goodness, when we headed to New York, actually, for the Sweet 16, I mean, that was sweet enough, pun intended. We just figured, all right, well, this is a cool treat. No one had ever expected the FAU Owls to get to the Sweet 16. I remember their send-off to the first round. It was just like, this is cool to have this experience, but we'll see them in a couple of days. This bus will be pulling back on campus, and we'll say, great job, guys. Saw ya on TV. But it goes so fast. I mean, then they win the Sweet 16 game, they win the Elite 8 game, and suddenly there's confetti coming down at Madison Square Garden, and all these guys, all these Owls, you just thought were, a fantastic team. We knew they were fantastic players. We knew they were hard workers. We knew Dusty May was a heck of a head coach, but by gosh, we're going to Houston. Final Four. And it just makes me understand from that perspective that any one of these teams in the NCAA tournament are capable of just shocking the world.
Yeah. And it's at least every year there's at least, I would say, 2 of those, underdog teams, those lower seeds, Cinderella teams, if you will, that make it, at least to the Sweet 16, if not, as far as you said with FAU, the Final Four. So, when I do fill out my bracket, that will definitely be brought into consideration, that there are some teams that will make it that far with such a low seed.
You're just going to ask ChatGPT, hey, what's the bracket? And she's going to tell you in 1 second, and you're going to submit that, aren't you? That's going to be your plan.
If it works.
I don't know. I haven't tried that.
If it works, I might.
I'm really upset with AI if that actually works, because suddenly there's a lot to think about here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
As far as those upsets go, like I looked around, and again, I admit I don't watch enough college basketball to be able to be trustworthy, but we start to poke around and check out. I'm always a Drake guy for some reason.
Yep.
I always pick Drake. I don't know if it's because I'm originally from Toronto and Drake is the
right,
rapper is from Toronto.
Safe to say he has no ties to that university. No ties.
So there you go. That must be a lyric, right?
No, it is not.
Yeah.
It's just he has no ties to it.
No, I see what you're saying. Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were doing wordplay with the no ties.
No. His is mob ties. Yeah, there you go. So close enough.
Yeah, that was my mix-up.
Yes,
of course. But yeah, Drake. That they always have. They're such great defenders. They rebound. They've got a great system there, and they're taking on Missouri.
Yeah,
the 6th seed. So that's what the first thing that jumps out at me is Drake for some reason. I always
and Drake's 11. They're the 11 seed.
Yeah. That's always a cool matchup.
Yeah. I like 11 seeds.
One I really like here, just from looking around, UC San Diego, the 12th seed, taking on the 5th seed Michigan. I mean, this is scary because Dusty May is obviously the head coach of Michigan now. He left the FAU basketball team literally 24 hours after they lost the NCAA tournament last year. I think I landed in Palm Beach, and it was breaking news that he was leaving.
He was taking that same plane, actually, that you got off of to go to Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. They won what a year for him in Michigan. I mean, Vlad too. Vlad Golden.
Vlad Golden got his stats. Finish off with, or I should say, heading into the tournament. Averaged 16.7 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, a block, and 62% shooting. I mean, that's not anything to tread lightly with. Talking about him as a center, and on this team. It's him and another center, both 7-footers. I think that's going to be a threat for a lot of teams as you head farther into this tournament.
Yeah, and don't forget the experience that Vlad has now. I mean, I remember just that same year that I was talking about when they made it to the Final Four. Going in, they all look shell-shocked. Like, where are we? Just what I said when we started this podcast. Went into the locker room. They had just won, advancing to the Final Four. And I think the first guy I interviewed was Vlad. I'm like, Vlad, how you feeling? He's like, I'm feeling like I'm in Final Four. That's how I feel. And it was just the most sweet, reaction. But now he's so used to being in the NCAA tournament, and he's got the same head coach, and you can just see his athleticism and numbers have improved even more.
Yeah.
So his experience, I think, is going to really help on that Michigan team as well. But the team they're playing, UC San Diego, they average 11 3-pointers per game, which is always a recipe for an upset, right? And the committee considered UC San Diego the best 12 seed. And that's scary because we have seen a lot of 12 seeds knock off 5 seeds over the years. So anyway, I got some upsets here. We could talk about this a little bit later, but we got to talk about the Gators a little bit.
For sure.
I mean, I got a chance to talk with the radio play-by-play voice of the Gators. You'll recognize his voice the second you hear it because he's got a great call. And the Gators, of course, number 1 seed in
the West.
In the West, I was going to say, I always mix up where
30-4. Mm-hmm. They're facing 16 Norfolk State, SEC champions. Let me tell you some of their notable wins before we get into this interview.
Okay.
UNC, Arkansas, Texas, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Tennessee twice, Alabama twice, and Georgia twice.
Spoiler alert, I have filled out my bracket. I have Duke and Florida in my final, and I have Florida winning the national championship. And as I talked to about Sean here, they've got great guard play. They've got their big guys. They've got a deep bench. They've got the experience, again, of one Elijah Martin, former FAU basketball star. And again, that's the experience there. He's one of the only guys who's experienced this situation. He's the most experienced NCAA tournament player on that team. So let's get some great perspective here, actual knowledgeable perspective as us, like Googling stuff. But it's the play-by-play radio voice of the Florida Gators just before heading to Raleigh, North Carolina.
We are joined now by Sean Kelley, the voice of the Florida Gators basketball team, who's barely caught his breath from all the excitement from that SEC tournament. Now you're turning around and getting on a flight in a couple hours, heading to North Carolina for the NCAA tournament. Crazy, but you wouldn't want it any other way, and neither would the team, right?
No, that's what we all want in the sport of college basketball right now. If you can get from one net cutting to the next thing, that would be ideal for any team. So we feel fortunate about that.
And I think that's a good point you bring up there with the SEC. I mean, they secured 14 bids in the NCAA tournament. So the Gators are certainly battle tested. They beat a 6th seed now, Missouri, in that conference tournament. Alabama and Tennessee are both 2 seeds. So does that give them a major advantage, just the fact that they played in the SEC and they've gone up against these just hard-nosed teams and different styles of tough?
I would have to think so, right? I mean, if you look at the number of top 10 or top 25 matchups that Florida had, even during the regular season, by all the metrics, it's the most they've ever seen in a season. And I think that would be the case for most of the teams in the conference because the conference had so many ranked teams, right? So you played a really difficult regular season conference schedule. What the Gators faced at the SEC tournament was Final Four caliber, frankly. I think Missouri, that the team they saw on Friday night, is a team that we'll find possibly in the Sweet 16. There's no doubt that Alabama and or Tennessee or Auburn, who got eliminated, early in the SEC tournament, all could be in the mix for the Final Four in San Antonio. So over a 3-day stretch, the Gators got tournament experience and then some, right? And so I think that'll serve them well now in this run where you have to win 6 in a row, no losses. Thankfully for the Gators, they won't have a back-to-back-to-back again like they did in Nashville. So there's at least a day in between each game and each of the 2 rounds that come for each weekend during the tournament. So look, if the Gators aren't ready, based on just solely the competition they've played, that's on them.
Yeah, I mean, crazy things, as we all know, can happen in the NCAA tournament, shocking upsets, but the Gators seem to have kind of that perfect mix of, strong guard play and big guys, who could go against like St. John's and Auburn and whatnot. Can you shed some light on how you've seen them utilize those, irreplaceable assets and kind of maybe even change themselves from game to game to suit what is needed?
The last thing you said, I think, is a great point. I think, John, that in a lot of ways, they showed during the season that they can win in different ways against teams that do different things. They can play with a guard-heavy team. They can play with a team with size. They can play with a team that wants to be in the half court, kind of get the game in the mud, like Tennessee did this past Sunday. Or they can run with anybody in the country. So that's one of those things that I think that's got people excited about Florida and why there are many that are picking them to win the whole thing. And with that, though, John, also comes depth, right? And so we saw that during the regular season. There were key injuries to different starters for the Gators. And because of their depth, both at the guard positions and down low, they were able to weather that. And they also showed that not the same guy doesn't have to carry the load every game. And yes, Walter Clayton Jr. is a first-team All-American. Hard to believe that's the first to ever do so in the program's history. But yes, he's kind of like your best player, quote unquote. But this is not a Florida team that has to rely on Walter to do everything for them on every night. And that serves also in a one-and-done situation. I do believe if this were like the NBA and you were playing a best of 7 in any of these rounds, I think the Gators would beat anybody in the country in a best of 7. As you said, it's March Madness. Crazy things happen because it is a one and done situation. So that's the tightrope walk that you make here with no net starting on Friday night.
Yeah, that balance you described there and different players stepping up reminds me a lot of that FAU team that we had the pleasure to cover around here. Made it all the way to the Final Four, which included, of course, Elijah Martin, who we love around here. We see what he can do, especially come tourney time. Can you shed some light on what the former Owl has meant to this team this year and how he'll factor into the tournament coming up?
Look, I think that he's as important of an addition as anything else to what Florida is this year. And because he had the experience at FAU, he's been there, done that. Nobody else on this roster, including the coaching staff, has ever been in that position to go to the Final Four. So Elijah has brought this mentality or this knowledge of what it takes to get to the Final Four from the day he stepped foot on campus. The other thing he's done is he's helped shape the defensive identity of this team, which also was his role with the Owls. So there's that. And then I think what we found in college basketball too is that older teams seem to be in a good spot right now with the way the game is being played. He's a graduate student, and he brings the top end of the age of this roster into this tournament. You have 2 sophomores that are key contributors. But you have this trio right now that Martin's a part of. Clayton, Martin, Will Richard, all have age to them. Elijah just has that extra experience about what it takes to go all the way and put yourself in a position to maybe play for a national championship. I think that's certainly an intangible that serves the Gators well because, look, whether it's in Raleigh this week or if they can get to San Francisco or otherwise, from now on, it's uncharted territory for the majority of this roster, except for Elijah Martin.
Oh, that is so true. That's a really good point. I mean, I haven't watched, all of the Gators games this year, but the ones that I have had a chance to watch, it just strikes me how many second and third chances they had, thanks to their offensive boards. Is that one of the major strengths of this team? The fact that, my goodness, they're just so relentless, and the size and the rebounding. It's hard for most teams to contend with that.
Yeah, the size you can't coach, right, John? I mean, you have to have size, but you also have to have willing guards, and you have to have this kind of mentality about it. And there's a 1-2 there with Florida in that sense. So the size, the coaching that comes from leveraging a position, or just kind of the skill of rebounding, which you don't know how it's going to come off the rim. There is a knack to it, and the Gators have that. But that 1-2 and that realization, I think that, look, either you're going to get a second chance to score on the offensive end, but I think what fuels them on the other end of the floor, they defensive rebound very well too, is that they love getting out and running and playing in a broken floor. So it's almost like, yes, it's a stop because the other team missed a shot, but here's an opportunity for us to get out and run and throw a 70-foot pass or get with my teammates and we're lobbing at the rim, that kind of a thing. So they've not only seen the value in it, they've also seen the fun that comes along with that. And look, if you go to all the stats, second chance points, offensive rebounds, offensive rebounding percentage, all those things find the Gators amongst the elite in the country.
Last one, there's always optimism, especially when you're the number 1 seed, but for the NCAA tournament, as we've said, there always has to be guarded optimism. Is there anything that you could convince yourself to be, slightly worried about, stuff that you've seen that if it rears its ugly head, or little things that they need to tweak to really step it to the next level?
Don't know if there's anything left that gives me concern. There were different things during the season, right? How do you be the hunter? And then how did you become the hunted? How did you handle it? In a couple of their ball games, look, there's only 4 losses, so it's hard to really poke a whole lot of holes. I've tried, John, trust me. But whether it be a slow start or, again, maybe not getting on the glass like they should on any given night, those are things that gave me a little concern before, but they've seemingly cleaned all those things up. They never lost back-to-back games during the year, so they were a team that was keenly aware of what they didn't do right in a particular loss and went out to fix that immediately, not some work in progress. They found a way to, I guess, not get surprised by something or something to get in the way. They seem to find ways to get around speed bumps, which is unique, right? And some of that comes with basketball IQ, and some of that goes back to the age that we talked about. But going into this tournament, I think they've checked every box. And now there is the one thing, right? You talked about the number one seed, and so many teams are people picking them to win it all. There is that kind of attention, pressure, everybody loving on you a little bit. It's been clear here in the last 48 hours since returning from Nashville that they want to keep this chip on their shoulder. They want to try and stay in a mindset where they're not talked about a whole lot, even though that's not true anymore. But they'd like to go into this tournament without, being a darling, if you will.
How's the excitement on campus and in Gainesville? Are you gauging that, or are people extra pumped?
Oh, well, I'm hearing from folks far and wide. It's interesting. It's spring break here on campus, which actually might really be a great thing because it allows students perhaps to go up to Raleigh. And if they can get through the weekend, obviously, then all the attention turns out west, where the distance will be hard on Gators fans if they end up in San Francisco after 2 games this weekend. But look, it's palpable. Everywhere you go in town, people are talking about it. Sometimes those of us who live here in Gainesville are at the campus. We forget, John, that there are Gators everywhere, including down your way in West Palm. There's 3.2 million Gators fans in the state alone, not to mention whom I've heard from all over the country right now. And even just talking to some of the guys that are part of other great Gator teams. Patrick Young, who was on that 2014 team. Lee Humphreys, my broadcast partner. He's, of course, a 2-time national champ. And then we're hearing from Al Horford and other I'm trying to think who reached out just the other day. Jason Williams reached out. I mean, even the Gator basketball alum are really in tune with what's going on. They feel proud. They feel connected to something again.
It's going to be exciting stuff. Rest your vocal cords. And thank you so much for joining us for this preview. Safe travels and safe travels to San Francisco too. I hope.
Knock on wood, John.
Knock on wood.
Yep. Enjoy the tournament.
So, of course, as I mentioned, the Gators playing Norfolk State. That'll be on Friday. So some of you might have watched the slate. You might have already seen the result, but that'll be at 6:50. Might be a little later just because of the game beforehand. But nonetheless, hopefully an entertaining one. I think we all expect it to go a certain way. But nonetheless, transferring over to...
I just thought of somebody who's excited about this game first. Let's just randomly see what happens here. Ooh, that's good. Is that good sound? You can hear this call?
I can.
Let's see. Let's see if she answers.
Hello?
Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Lauren Oleski.
Yeah.
This is John Evenson.
Hi, John Evenson.
We're in the podcast. We're doing the podcast live.
You're calling me in the middle of an episode?
Of an episode, yeah, because we're talking about the Gators, and you're the biggest Gators fan I could think of.
Oh, if you hear weird sounds in the background, my baby's going to scream and wants to also be on the Did you hear him? He also wants to be on it?
Aww.
He just spit up on me. Cute. Wait, you're really calling me from the middle of an episode?
Yeah, tell me the baby is wearing a Gators, bib or something.
He's not. But he did spit up right when you said that. So maybe I need to put that on him.
Is that a good sign or a bad sign? Is that, how they get babies and there was a hippopotamus that chose who was going to win the NCAA tournament last year. So tell me just real quick, Lauren, how excited? I wanted to do this just on the fly because it's a gut reaction. What are you feeling about the Gators?
Obviously, Gators are going to take it all this year. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, you're putting me on the spot. I wasn't prepared for this. No, it's of course we're not surprised we went number 1, are we? We're clearly amazing. I don't really understand the whole location of brackets. Why are we in the West?
You're going to be going to San Francisco or something next.
The furthest East team that exists. I don't get that part.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got a bone to pick with whoever decides location because Florida's pretty east, but if we're in the West, whatever.
That would be the NCAA selection committee. And a lot of people have a bone to pick. Get in line for that, Lauren
it's
Oleski.
Weird. We're put Auburn's west of us. They can go over there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's great. I mean, excitement. I'm sorry, I have no.
Do you think this is the most excited that Gators Nation has been in a really, really long time?
I think it's just like the start of something. Because I remember saying this to Matt recently on air. Our like billion-foot player is like not even playing. Like he's being redshirted for a year. So like, just think of what we're going to continue to do, and like maybe this will be another, 2006, 2007 type of seat, right? Is that what you agree with?
I can't envision a world this year where the Gators don't celebrate with confetti flowing around them. And I'm not even a Gators fan, and I just think that they're going to beat Duke. I've got them and Duke in the final.
So do I.
Yeah, and you picked Duke,
Look
right?
at us.
Because you go for the money. You pick Duke to win.
Is that what people do?
No, don't do that. I'm just kidding.
No, obviously we have Florida winning.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like an orange versus blue kind of game.
I love
like
it.
I'm going to assume it's going to be like an orange out type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I guess it's probably like it's similar-ish to like the 2006, 2007 season when we went back to back or was it 2007, 2008? I don't remember.
Yeah.
And like the hype is there. We've got like these really good players and we're in this like really good groove. And, that was a very long time ago. It was like almost 20 years ago, but like it feels a little bit like that-ish. And like my dad's a huge Gator and, so we're excited every time there's like a game on. And it's like I used to constantly like check football scores, but like I'm actually paying attention to basketball this year because, the Gators we have stake in it, and it makes March Madness a little bit more fun because there's a team I actually want to root for.
I just heard Baby. Totally agreed with you. That was sweet.
Right?
Well, you are the biggest Gators fan I know. You're always gushing about your fanhood. So I'm going to let you go now. My favorite Gators family. Thank you, Lauren. And we're going to continue on with the podcast. We can talk about golf or something now. Not right up your alley.
No, not. Although I'm starting to open up to golf.
And golfers watch you for the weather forecast, so there's a circle there.
Sunshine all week, golfers.
Thank
Depending
you.
on when this airs.
Go Gators! Chomp chomp. Give her a chomp. All right. Thanks, Lauren. We'll let you go. Thanks for being a good sport.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So FAU, that was fun. I don't know. I just thought I'd do that on the fly because she's always talking about how much she loves the Gators, and fans around here. Have learned to love the Owls. No matter what team they love, How could you not love FAU basketball? Yep. New head coach John Jacobs. What do you think of the NIT bid?
They are. I think it's a big deal for this school. Of course, they had some growing pains this season with the new head coach. For the most part, a very new roster. A lot of new guys trying to mix people in with transfers and whatnot. But I think it's been going pretty well. But they have a tough test. Dayton.
Yeah. Talking about threes, I mean, Dayton is just, I think you complain about threes in the NBA. I mean, Dayton is like anyone's nightmare who doesn't like three because they are like the three ball. I think they're tops in their conference with three, and FAU has struggled with defending the three.
Yeah.
So but I really think that if you've ever been to an FAU basketball game and people are into it, the atmosphere there should be really good.
And I think that's the coolest part is that this game is at FAU
because of a scheduling snafu. Dayton was already where they play has an NCAA tournament bracket section there, so they couldn't play. They're the higher seed, so just by a fluke, the game's in Boca.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You know what else is happening in Boca?
Let's hear it.
We discussed our plan. Don't fake it.
But I want you to segue to
the James Hardy Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational. Huge golf tournament coming up in less than 2 weeks. If you like watching Champions Tour players, like the big names,
right?
Try throwing in the best football players of all time.
Yeah.
All into the field, and we get to see them all. Do you have some of the names that are going to be
there? I do. We've got Jerome Bettis, Eric Dickerson, Devin Hester.
Former Suncoast High School.
That's right.
He was just inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's right. And a former Pahokee High School linebacker, Hall of Famer, Rickey Jackson.
Who I met. I was at Media Day on Tuesday. He had his beautiful gold jacket on. He was the last-minute ad. And trust me, I'm still scared of this guy. He's been retired for like 20 years or something, but I'm standing next to him, and you get your heart rate goes up because you just know that this dude could pummel you if he wanted to. But he's a nice guy. He would not do that, and still as competitive as ever. That's why he's playing in this, along with a lot of the Pro Football Hall of Fame players. Here's my one-on-one with Rickey Jackson.
Well, the great Rickey Jackson, I know your competitive juices are still flowing. Professional athletes always have those. So what's it like for you to be participating in not only a golf tournament with, some of the best football players of all time and golfers of all time? That's a lot of pressure.
Well, I mean, but you want to win because, people all over the world going to see, what you're doing out here. And, since you play a whole lot of golf, you want to try to hold your reputation up that you're a good golfer. So all these guys coming to play in the golf tournament, they trying to win just to show people that, that they're decent golfers.
What's it like when you get to see all these gold jackets in one place and you really get to reminisce and be amongst greatness as one of the greats yourself?
Well, I mean, a lot of people want to be in that position, and now you're in that position. You just try to make sure that, you be competitive to the rest of the guys that's playing.
Now, does golf do it for you? I mean, I know with football, I can't think of a more, I guess for lack of a better word, adrenaline rush, violent sometimes, of course, and then all of a sudden you retire, and where do you put all that? Did a lot of it go into golf for you?
All that went into golf because one thing about golf, every night when you go to bed, you're looking for getting up the next day going to play golf. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like football. If you had a game that Sunday, you waited all week to play that game. But golf is totally different. You got a match every day. So every night you go to sleep, you're looking to see what you're going to do the next day. So a little different from football.
When you're amongst all the greats, who do you seek out to reminisce or maybe even trash talk a little bit from your playing days?
Well, I mean, Nat Moore, some of those receiver guys who.
He's going to be here today. What do you got to say to him?
I'm going to talk trash to him.
What are some of the great competitive memories that you have? The great, backs that you, or the, wide receivers you went against and running backs?
Like Earl Campbell, he was always trying to run you over and stuff, and, you always was after him. If you knock Earl Campbell, Walter Payton out, you got a lot of publicity. So that was my job to always try to get Earl Campbell, Walter Payton.
Can I ask you about going to Pahokee High School and playing football there? It's a long time ago now, but what are some of the treasured memories you have and some of the things that you learned in Pahokee that was instilled in you growing up Pahokee that helped you be successful?
Well, to try to beat the teams on the coast. They was a team that was getting all the publicity, like Bobby Butler and some of those guys came along with me, came out the same year as me. Yeah. Those guys were getting a lot of, publicity, just like in basketball. They was getting a lot of publicity. So our job was to beat them and shut them down when people know about Pahokee.
Last question, where do you keep this gorgeous gold jacket when you're not wearing it?
I keep it at home in the closet.
Do you ever just take a look at it? You're just sitting home on a given night and you just reminisce a little bit?
Well, they done gave us, this is the third one. I just got this one. This one just came in new, so I'm going to take the other two and probably donate one to the high school and donate one to the city.
Well, thank you so much, Rickey Jackson. Good luck on the course in a couple of weeks.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So sticking with golf in the beautiful area of Palm Beach County, of course, it's been busy for TGL. Rory McIlroy, his team not in it, but he still gets some winnings with the players. Winning
Palm Beach County represent. I mean, obviously he's from Northern Ireland, right?
Yes.
But
St. Patrick's Day win.
That's the cool thing, right? It was a St. Patrick's Day victory, unexpectedly Monday morning, 3-hole playoff. Luck of the Irish was with Rory McIlroy. So even though the TGL semifinals were being played on Monday and Tuesday without his Boston Golf Club team, heck, he won his second career Players Championship. And it was kind of a cool golf moment right there. And then, the semifinals really did live up to the fun. I mean, I feel like TGL has been getting more entertaining as the season has gone on here. Now that the players have kind of figured out the nooks and crannies and they're getting comfortable, you're seeing the talent come out. And Ricky Fowler's New York team, the perfect example. Like, they looked horrible to start the season. They lost the first two They really didn't have anything. They didn't only lose. They got slaughtered the first couple of games in TGL, and they've come all the way back. They're in the final, and then Atlanta, the Bay looked impressive all year too, and somehow Atlanta, Justin Thomas, Billy Horschel, were able to Patrick Cantley able to knock off the Bay. And we have New York versus Atlanta for all the marbles. Best of 3 next week, TGL championship.
Yeah, it was that Monday game, New York versus LA, was definitely difficult for LA at one point. You know, those 2 close missed birdies. I mean,
yeah.
You talked about the reaction in your newscast, just all the fans. Serena Williams just kind of in shock.
Yeah, because her husband Alexis owns the LA team, and there was drama.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing is they even show Katie Benty in the crowd. Did you see that?
I did see that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, here's the celebrities. And it wasn't the celebrity montage
Right.
in there, but she was just randomly shown. So all the celebrities seem to change up as the weeks go on too. It's crazy. Like, the who's the actor from Key and Peele?
Michael Key or Jordan Peele?
It was Key.
Michael Key. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. I'm pretty sure maybe they were both there.
Is he tall and bald?
Yeah, the hilarious
tall and
guy.
bald is Michael Key.
Not the guy who makes horror movies.
That would be Jordan Peele. Yes.
Oh, okay. Wait, no, the guy who makes horror movies is Jordan Peele.
He's Jordan Peele.
Yeah, you're confusing me. I know who I saw.
Yeah, tall,
the
bald
teacher.
guy. Yeah.
He's in the skits where he's mispronouncing everyone's names and everything.
Yes.
Love that guy. So he was there, and then you had like Chipper Jones from the Braves.
Okay,
was
repping
there.
Atlanta.
Michael Vick was repping Atlanta.
Okay,
He was there, the
yeah.
Falcons guy. So yeah, and then we had Celine Dion a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Just a crazy just mix of Josh Allen from the
Bills.
Just a crazy mix of celebrities. You never know who you're going to see next, and it's a really fun atmosphere down there. I think they're just going to enhance this as the years go on. But we got one more week here. I wonder who's going to be at the championship game. Any guesses on what stars might be there?
Atlanta, first thing that comes to mind is rappers.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some form of a popular rapper out there representing Atlanta.
Drake?
No.
See, we have to bring up Drake again.
You have to have a Toronto team. New York, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a tough one. It could be anybody.
Aaron Judge?
It's just before the season, so I'm gonna doubt
be a
that he's
bad
there.
look?
Yeah. Maybe Jeter.
That's the thing. I saw on before, like, this is getting off track a little bit, but I saw on social media someone had posted like, "Oh, look at Tua Tagovailoa having a great time," and he was at a club or something and he was dancing.
Yes.
It looks like he's really working hard, getting ready for the season. It's like, dude, I don't even know why I'm bringing this up, but it's March.
Right.
Why are you? But the guy's allowed to have a life.
Yeah, for NFL, yeah, obviously Josh Allen was there. It's not like he's not getting heckled about it. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, and I'm sure like
What are you gonna do?
Key is actively involved, writing more comedy,
Right.
and making movies, but he took a night off to go enjoy some golf.
they're allowed to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
do it.
Andrew George, who used to be the executive director of the, back when it was the Honda Classic, now it's the Cognizant Classic.
Yep.
He is in charge of the entertainment that is TGL. And I saw him walking by. He was looking very cash. He was outside playing with the playing cornhole, actually,
Okay.
testing out the cornhole. 3 hours before the match. He's hands on. He goes and checks out everything.
Yeah.
And I called him over and I said, I want to just talk to you, pick your mind about what you've experienced this year one of TGL. How it's going to evolve next year. And it was an interesting conversation with Andrew George. Joining me now is Andrew George. We've known him for years, of course, with the Honda Classic, and now he's Senior Vice President of Live Events for TGL. And as this season has gone on, I don't know if this is how you've seen it, but the momentum just keeps picking up. The players seem to be getting used to the indoor golf, but there's also way more on the line, and you can see it, the adrenaline flowing a little more.
Yeah, anytime you start saying playoffs and you start talking about a championship series, you see the players starting to get really behind the competition in general. I think they've had a lot more fun. Even the walkout moments, this is not something that they normally have on the PGA Tour. And so for them to kind of have this indoor golf experience over the last 2 or 3 months, culminating with a championship series is going to be a lot of fun.
What is some of the evolution that you've noticed? Because those first few weeks were a little shaky as far as not very many big putts were being made. It was kind of bad golf in some ways. Even Tiger called it that as they kind of got used to this. But boy, did things change. That doubleheader matinee, I think, was the real turning point where the golf really got exciting, and they were just making amazing shots ever since then.
Yeah. When you think of all the golf courses they play year in, year out, they have that kind of muscle memory, and they don't have that here. Indoor golf, first time seeing that green, and then you put the spotlight that they had on top of them, and you're really on theater stage. Mm-hmm. It took a little bit of time, and now you see those guys chipping in from everywhere. They're making long bomb putts. You're starting to see the competition again come together. And the teams, really, the 4 teams that made the playoffs have really kind of rallied around each other and helped each other out.
I know you're always hyper-focused on just what's here right in front of you, kind of the local things that need to be done right here in SoFi Center. But what are have you been able to actually, I'm sure you have watched the broadcast, get feedback from the broadcast and find out how this is looking from a national scale?
Yeah, I think, ultimately this is an international broadcast and watching back, after the show for 2 hours, I think you see all the things. I have the live event eye, so I'm looking at the 1,400, 1,500 people in here. Mm-hmm. But every week we've tweaked and gotten a little bit better on what both the broadcast and in-venue experience is going to be. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement still. So the opportunity is in front of us. But again, the players, the competition's got better. I think the fans are starting to learn how to interact with the players, and that's been fun as well.
Can you give us an idea of sort of what that process is like where, you've got the entity from the in-house here, you've got the TV guys, they want something, you have the players who are experiencing it, perhaps noticing things. I'm sure you're getting feedback from them, from Tiger, from Rory. How does that all kind of filter down into the evolution that we've seen, even with the hammer rule change and all that stuff?
Yeah, the good news is the players are going to tell you how they feel, no matter how it is, and for good and for bad. And I think right after each event, we get together, both the broadcast, our events team. Mike McCarley brings the entire group together and says, "Okay, let's go through what is going well, what do we need to change, what needs to be immediate fix." And I think that's what you're seeing every single week. You've got 4 or 5 things that you can tackle within 6 or 7 days, and we've been able to do that.
And it's been no joke because it's very rare that you see. I mean, it was the first year of a league. You don't see as drastic a rule change as we saw with the hammer, and how that has really changed the way they're playing and made it way more exciting. Like, you guys noticed something that just wasn't working and nipped it in the bud right away.
Yeah, and I would give credit to the 6 teams as well. I mean, this is a competition, and we had to get their buy-in as they're going through the standings, and some teams had played more than the other. I think everyone just kind of sat back and said, this is the right thing for the league. We I think, nailed a lot of things right out of the gate. There's other things that we just didn't know until you see it, that being one of them, and I think that change has really helped the league.
So have you guys we're in the middle of an exciting playoff situation here, but have you guys even started to look at next year yet and see any major changes that you might be able to maybe share with us or give us a hint?
Yeah, I think our list is, especially, my list particularly as I look around the SoFi Center, is very, very long. I think there's a lot of things, like we said, we knew we need to solve for, but don't have enough time. So let's get through season 1, kind of take our data, and then go from there. So I think your in-venue experience, the SoFi Center is going to drastically change and get better overall as you walk in. The activations are going to get better and more fun. I think on the broadcast side, they've got that same list of things. The camera angles, we've got 76 cameras out there. I think if you ask them, they'd still have 200 more that they'd put in to get the perfect shot for the perfect competition. But across the board, we will, the week after the season is over, everybody comes together. We got a long list of what are their wants, our needs, and has to have, and then we'll come back. I think you'll see a very different but even better experience in TGL season 2.
I've heard the people who come here, they quite enjoy it, but a lot of the things I hear sometimes are they've already seen it on TV. I like that sort of fly on the wall sort of thing and being able to hear everything. And then one of the fans told me that they found out that they could, with their Bluetooth earphones, actually log into that type of audio and stuff like that. So even fans are learning along the way. I think that's an important part of it, that they can get the TV experience even though they're here, right?
That's right, and we've been testing that. We didn't want to go out the gate. There is a latency discussion to have where you're watching a putt drop right in front of you, and then you've got about a 5-second delay, and so that continues to get better too. We talk about what is it going to look like in season 2. That's one that I think everybody's talked about. They go, I've watched the broadcast. I like hearing the banter. How do I see that here in the arena? So we'll continue to get better on that.
Has Rory and Tiger given you any specific feedback that you're paying close attention to?
They are constantly giving us feedback, especially when they're playing. I think that, our competition team, our tech team have made a ton of changes, even in season 1, based on what Rory, what Tiger, what all 24 players have said. I think there is a moment where we sit down with both of those guys and really kind of go, okay, in a perfect scenario for season 2, what does this look like? They are, we're going to listen to them, that's for sure.
and last one, it's obviously, upsetting that we're not going to see Tiger play this season because of his injury likely, but it was such a treat even more to be able to see him here at TGL. And I really feel like fans got to know Tiger more than they ever have in a totally different way. Like, almost the human side of Tiger, because he was laughing his head off. There was flaws there in his game. His whole team were able to make mistakes, just like every common golfer does on the golf course, and kind of shrug it off and laugh at it and just have a great time. I think that ultimately is good for the game, and also just the new side of Tiger that we've never seen.
Yeah, well, first off, we wish him a speedy recovery. I think everybody in the league and all the other players, you can't argue that it's a better product when Tiger Woods is playing. And then when you see how close to the action you can get and watch him, you can't say that team didn't have any fun. They were laughing their way through the entire season, but also had some really cool moments. And I think that I think back to what were the best parts of this season. Boston, Tiger, and Rory, Jupiter winning in overtime was a fun moment for the league, and I think a really launch point to the second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks. It was such a treat this year, and we're looking forward to championship week next week. Thank you, Andrew George.
So at the top, we talked about, March Madness, making your picks, making your brackets. It wouldn't be right if we didn't make some picks of our own, but specifically the games that are airing on CBS 12 News.
Oh, okay.
So I've got those games for you. 2 of them.
Always the company, man.
2 of them you got to represent.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them we don't have because of those first 4 games that I mentioned that have not been decided. So I'm not going to do Duke against a slash of a team.
Make sure you tell me what region they're in so I can find my selection on my bracket and really.
You're going to have to find out on the fly. All right. You ready? I'm going to let you sit on it. All right.
When I'm my final 4, I'll tell you that after.
Yeah, tell me that after.
Yeah.
We're going to start off 8-seeded Creighton versus 9-seeded Louisville.
What section? What region?
You're going to have to find that.
Oh, I wrote notes here on every game.
You should know 8s and 9s are near the middle of whichever bracket it is.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Give me the game again.
8-seeded Creighton versus 9-seeded Louisville.
I'm going Creighton.
Okay.
I really like Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you with Creighton. The way that you talked about Drake at the beginning is the way that I think is the way I feel about Creighton.
Yeah.
They're a team to me that's always a threat in March Madness, regardless of what seed they are.
I thought you were going to say Blue Jay because they're called the Blue Jays, and Drake is from Toronto.
No,
and
he's
then
not
you
making
put those connections together.
You keep on thinking of Drake the artist. That is not the way. All right, this one should be easy to find for you and decide. Number 16 seed Alabama State versus number 1 Auburn.
I'm going to go with Auburn on this one. I don't see a 16th seed knocking off a team that with that size.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to agree with you and go with Auburn as well. All right, next one. 10-seeded Arkansas versus 7-seeded Kansas. Arkansas against Kansas.
My gut. This is just a gut. Do not destroy me, Jayhawks fans. My gut is I know how inconsistent Kansas can be and has been over the past couple of years. And Ed, our camera guy, is a huge Jayhawk. I just see his reaction coming off these like gutting losses, and I just feel like
it's going to happen
Arkansas.
again.
Yeah. I'm going to say Arkansas.
I'm going to go the same. I feel that Arkansas, I hope I'm saying this right, John Calipari is their new head coach, came over from Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Arkansas as well. All right. 15 seed Omaha versus 2-seeded St. John's. St. John's, the powerhouse, 30-4.
Again, too much size on St. John's. They do have their flaws. They do have their flaws. I don't see St. John's having a. They're going to be upset at some point, but not in the first round.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go St. John's as well. I think that's a guarantee. That's a lock. All right. So we've got 9-seeded Baylor.
These are good games, by the way, on CBS.
They are very great games.
Yeah.
9-seeded Baylor versus 8-seeded Mississippi State.
Oof.
Tough, I know.
Yeah, you give me your thoughts on this one, buddy.
Just the way that Baylor's been as of late, and the deep runs that they've made in the tournament, only going 19-14 this season. I think they're not going to be able to do it again this year. So I'm going to have to go Mississippi State winning this one.
Yeah, just to go against you, I'll pick Baylor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, and the last one that I've got, 14-seed Troy versus 3-seed Kentucky.
It's one of my upsets.
I was just going to say, a lot of people like those 14.
It's one of my upsets. Yeah.
Yep.
So Troy all the way.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad that one's on CBS 12. What time does that one come on?
It is one of the later games on Friday, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the late games on Friday.
Real quick, my final four is Michigan State.
Okay.
Florida.
Yep.
Duke.
Yep.
And Houston, we have a problem.
Okay.
Not a problem for Duke, though. They advanced to the championship game where they will take on the Chompers, and it's Florida, national champion all the way.
There you go.
Lord Oleski, partying like it's 1999.
Or 2007.
Yeah, that's a really old reference.
Thanks for asking for my pick. I'm going to go with Kentucky on that. You'll have the rest of my bracket as we get closer.
I got to ask you, because you always bust my you-know-whats for bringing up old. Do you know what partying like it's 1999, do you know what that's a reference to?
Is that not a song?
Good. Okay,
Yeah,
we're on
I do know
the
it's a
right
song.
track. Prince. Yeah, Prince.
Okay.
Good.
Perfect.
You're not completely oblivious of the world before you were born.
Yes.
I've just proven that now.
Yes, the 1 year before I was born. All right. So, thanks for tuning into this new episode, new look, new vibe, new environment.
We need to get haircuts next week.
We do need to get haircuts. Very true. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Enjoy the mayhem.
Enjoy the madness.
Best Florida Sports Podcast drops every Thursday morning. Listen on your favorite platform or watch on YouTube.